Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Pop Links. Tea all started with a moment no one could have predicted, a spark that turned into a wildfire almost instantly. Claressa Shields, the undefeated boxing champion known for her confidence and her refusal to back down from anyone, suddenly decided she had been quiet for too long. The words came spilling out of her in a way that wasn't rehearsed, wasn't polished, and definitely wasn't meant to keep the peace. It was raw, unfiltered, and full of the kind of emotion that leaves no room for guessing. She called out Remy Ma directly, and not in the way people sometimes throw little hints or subtle shade. This wasn't a wink, or a sly lyric in a freestyle. This was a full-on strike, one that made it clear Claressa wasn't trying to whisper in the shadows anymore. She wanted the world to hear her, and she wanted Remy to feel it. The trigger was shocking because it came out of nowhere. Fans were scrolling through their feeds expecting the usual sports updates, motivational posts, or light-hearted comments from the champ. But instead, they were hit with Claressa's voice shaking the internet. It could have been during a live stream, it could have been a heated post typed out in frustration, or even a quick rant caught on camera, but however it reached the public, the message was unmistakable. Claressa had finally snapped, and she wasn't pulling any punches. She named names, she said things most people wouldn't dare say out loud, and she did it with the fire of someone who had been holding back for far too long. Within minutes, the internet lit up. Screenshots of her words were everywhere. Fans clipped the video, reposted the quotes, and flooded timelines with disbelief. People were asking, did she really just say that? The speed at which it spread was like watching an explosion ripple outward in slow motion. First a few tweets, then entire threads dedicated to breaking down every word, then TikToks with fans reenacting what Claressa said, their faces wide with shock as if they couldn't believe a champion of her level would actually go there. And yet, there it was, undeniable, stamped across the internet forever. What made it so intense wasn't just the fact that Claressa spoke Remy's name. It was the tone she used. There was no sugarcoating, no attempt to soften the blow, or make it seem like just a misunderstanding. Her voice carried the weight of someone tired of pretending, tired of silence, tired of swallowing her truth for the sake of keeping things neat and quiet. She sounded like a woman who had reached her breaking point, and once those words left her mouth, there was no taking them back. The honesty cut like a blade, and for anyone who had been following the rumors for months, it felt like confirmation of everything whispered in the shadows. Fans immediately started to take sides. Some argued that Claressa was brave for finally exposing the truth, saying it takes guts to speak against someone as established and respected as Remy Ma. Others, though, accused her of clout chasing, insisting she was only using Remy's name to boost her own spotlight outside the boxing ring. But even the critics couldn't deny the power of her words. It was the kind of statement that leaves you stunned, whether you agree or not. She had everyone's attention, and once the words hit the internet, there was no turning back. What fueled the shock even more was the history between them. This wasn't some random beef that appeared out of thin air. Fans knew there had always been tension, but no one expected Claressa to light the match this way. She didn't just poke the bear, she set the whole cave on fire. Every sentence carried a level of personal heat that made it clear this wasn't about industry competition or playful trash talk. This was about real emotions, real wounds, and real resentment that had finally boiled over. People could feel it in their bones. This was war, and it wasn't going to end with just a few angry posts. The timing of Claressa's outburst made it even more explosive. Remy Ma was already under the microscope, with her marriage to Papoose constantly being discussed and her image as a strong wife and rap icon facing cracks in the public eye. To have Claressa step in and throw her own words into the storm felt like the final straw, the moment that tipped everything into chaos. Fans who were already questioning Remy's personal life suddenly had a new angle, a new piece of fuel to throw into the fire. And as much as people wanted to dismiss Claressa's words as bitterness, the conviction in her tone made it impossible to ignore. It was almost cinematic the way it all unfolded. One moment the internet was quiet, the next moment it was a battleground. Claressa had fired her shot, and the echo of it kept bouncing across social media, picking up speed with every retweet and repost. Some fans called it the beginning of the end, saying there was no way Remy could ignore such a direct challenge. Others begged Remy to stay quiet, warning that feeding into it would only make the fire grow. But deep down, everyone knew silence wasn't an option. When someone throws words that heavy, the world waits for a response, and that silence becomes louder with every passing hour. And so the story began, not with a gentle push, but with an explosive blow. Claressa Shields didn't just throw shade, she lit up the entire stage, forcing Remy Ma into a spotlight she didn't ask for but couldn't escape. In that single moment, fans realized this wasn't going to be a short-lived spat, or a petty misunderstanding. This was the start of something much bigger, something that had the potential to shake reputations, friendships, and even families. It was the kind of trigger that changes everything, and once pulled, there was no going back. Long before the explosion we are seeing now, Claressa Shields and Remy Ma's names were already tied together in ways that had people whispering. It started quietly, with Claressa being spotted in circles close to Remy and Papoose, the kind of interactions that didn't seem suspicious at first. They smiled in pictures, showed support publicly, and even hinted at a kind of bond that blurred the line between friendship and something more complicated. On the surface, it looked like nothing more than respect between two women who had each built powerful names for themselves in different lanes, one in the ring, the other on the mic. But in the background, stories started to build, and fans began asking questions that no one wanted to answer out loud. The tension really grew once Papoose's name entered the equation. He had always been admired for his loyalty to Remy, standing by her side through some of her darkest chapters. But whispers began circulating that maybe he had a closeness with Claressa that went deeper than just support or admiration. It was never confirmed, and neither side openly addressed it, but the idea was enough to make people look at every interaction differently. When Claressa posted encouragement, people dissected the wording. When Papoose was seen showing her love as a friend, the comments section lit up with theories. It was the type of quiet narrative that builds pressure over time, waiting for one slip to blow the lid off. For a while, both women ignored it. There were no fiery posts, no direct shots, just silence, which only made the curiosity grow. Fans noticed little things, though, like body language at events, the lack of certain tags online, and subtle changes in how they spoke about each other. What once looked like friendship slowly shifted into a rivalry that no one dared confirm, but everyone suspected. It became the classic case of too much smoke for there not to be at least some fire hiding underneath. By the time Claressa finally spoke out, that history was like dry wood waiting for a spark. Every old rumor, every screenshot, every whispered theory came rushing back to the surface. The feud didn't feel random, it felt like years of tension finally boiling over. Thanks for watching. Pop Links is where the hottest stories live. Hit subscribe and stay part of the fam.